know, don't you, that that church at Ephesus was a fundamental independent Baptist church. Now, you do know that because Paul said, look, Timothy, you're pastoring a fundamental Baptist church. I don't want you to pussyfoot.
That's good word.
He said, I want you to reprove and rebuke.
Amen.
Reprove and rebuke. Oh, wait, we don't hurt anybody today. No, when you got to reprove.
That's right.
Some people are going to hurt when you, my dad used to spank me. He called that reproval. And then he said, I'm going to reprove the improve. I never did like it. And yes, some people are going to get mad. But we're supposed to do that. The 2 Timothy tells us that.
Amen.
What about this? Cry aloud.
Mm-hmm.
Lift up thy voice like a trumpet.
Amen.
Isaiah chapter 58. Now look, I'm telling you, fundamental Baptists do not have lecturers for preachers.
Amen. That's right.
There's a place for lecturing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you stand behind that pulpit, you know what this cry aloud, lift up your voice, you know what that's saying? It's saying preach with urgency. Preach with urgency. Preach with assurance that you know what you're saying. You know what
Amen. Amen.
like people at Dr. Howells used to say people come to his church and they'd hear him preach, and ultimately they'd say to him, we don't agree with the word you're saying, but we sure like the way you say it.
Amen.
We sure like the way you say it. You know, people like to hear somebody
Yes, sir.
say something with conviction.
Sir. Actually believe it. Yes, sir.
I mean, I've heard preachers before where I feel like they were saying, you know, folks, it would really be a good idea for you to do this if you could possibly find time. I don't mean to bring any harm to you. I don't want to make you feel like your back is against the wall, but could you do this possibly, please, somehow, pretty please? Would you try to do this? Would you do your best to do this? No. A preacher just beats on that pulpit and says, hey, you listen to me. You do this. That's what you need to do.
Hey.
Oh, I didn't mean to be emphatic. The style of preaching.
Uh-huh.
A true fundamental independent Baptist will preach with urgency. Hell is real.
Yes, sir.
Time is short.
Yes.
And people are lost.
That's right.
And then I'll finish with this. 5 minutes. Okay. Well, I don't think you minutes that. So I do that. Okay, I'll finish with this, obviously. Now I really will. Fundamental Baptists believe that there are some proprieties.
Mm.
There are right ways to be.
Mm.
There are right ways to dress. There's a proper attire. And turn to Genesis chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41. Genesis chapter 41, and look at verse 14. Verse 14 says, Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him up hastily out of the dungeon. Now look what it says next. And he shaved himself and changed his raiment and came in unto Pharaoh.
Mm.
In this day and age, it said, well, who's he? I don't have to dress up and go see him. Joseph said, this is the king I'm going to see.
Yes, sir.
This is a heathen king, but he said he's a king.
Uh-huh.
I'm not going to go in there unshaven.
Mm.
I didn't make this up. You saw it in black and white, did you not?
Amen.
He said, I'm going to see the king.
Yes, sir.
You let me shave myself, and you let me clean myself up, and you let me put something on decent that is king-worthy to see.
Amen.
Now, we've gotten to the day and age where these churches, I mean, preachers are dressing in shirts with their shirt tail out, and not, they wouldn't wear a tie for anything. You'd think he was trying to hang them if you tried to cause them to wear a tie. And they, you know, nothing is proper anymore. There's no right way to do anything. I tell our people all the time, I said, look, when we have a funeral in this church, we're coming to be a comfort to that family.
Amen.
And we're coming to honor this person,
Amen.
this family that they're
Amen.
there. We're gonna dress right.
Amen.
We come to a funeral, you dress right.
Amen.
I tell the people all the time, we're gonna have a wedding here. And we're gonna dress decent when we come to a
Amen.
wedding. We're not gonna go sloppy to a wedding.
That's
We're not gonna
right.
act like we just came out of the
That's
dig of the
right.
ditch.
That's right. Amen.
This is the honorable thing to do. This is the decent thing
That's
to do.
right.
Amen.
That's right.
Saying yes, sir, and no, sir, and
That's
yes,
right.
ma'am,
That's
and
right.
no, ma'am. Those are proper things.
Amen.
Treating a lady with respect, that's a proper
That's
thing.
right. That's right.
And fundamental Baptists ought to separate themselves from the kind of Tommy rod out there that doesn't show decency about our relationships in life.
Amen.
Boys ought to be trained to treat
That's right.
young ladies like young ladies.
That's right.
So they don't act like young ladies. Well, you're right about that, but treat them like that anyway.
Amen.
You ever gotten the door slammed in your face because you opened the door for a woman? Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I opened the door for a woman before, and I'm sure you could say this, but
Yes, sir.
I've opened the door for a woman before, and she looked at me and said, "What, you think I can't open it?"
Yeah.
I slammed it back. But anyway,
But anyway.
listen, I know there's a lot of things about President Trump that I wish he had changed.
Uh-huh. Yes.
But I will say this: have you ever seen him? I mean, have you ever seen him not dressed professionally? He dresses professionally.
Yes,
He's
sir.
got his white shirt on, got a tie.
Yes, sir.
His suit fits right. He doesn't have it cocked up here.